Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the explosive protests that rocked Mexico City in November 2025. This was a movement that literally brought a generation's anger right to the front steps of the presidential palace. All right, so let's just jump right into the heart of the chaos. Picture this. It's November 9th, 2025. We're outside the National Palace in Mexico City, and a massive demonstration is about to go sideways fast. You know, the accounts from people who were there, they just paint this picture of absolute chaos. This quote from a street vendor really puts you right there in the middle of it. 1 minute, peaceful chants. The next, panic as tear gas fills the air. And the official reports, man, they really confirm just how intense this whole thing got. Get this, 100 police officers were injured in the clash. And we're not just talking minor scrapes here. A staggering 40 of them actually had to be hospitalized. And it wasn't just one-sided. The violence, it really cut both ways. You had 20 protesters injured and another 20 arrested for everything from vandalism to assault. The main takeaway here is that this was no small scuffle. This was a serious, violent confrontation. So, this all leads to the big question, right? The one we're really trying to answer here. How on earth did a movement that started as a peaceful memorial, a tribute, escalate so dramatically into a full-blown riot right on the government's doorstep? Okay, so to really get how this powder keg exploded, you've got to look at the spark. And that spark? It was the shocking assassination of a really popular and very outspoken mayor. And when you look at the timeline, it's just, wow, the speed of it all is mind-blowing. Think about it. In just 9 days, we go from a targeted killing in the state of Michoacan to this massive, violent confrontation in the nation's capital. Now, the man at the center of this, Carlos Manzo, he wasn't just some politician, you know? He was the mayor of Uruapan, and he was known for being defiant, for standing up to the powerful local drug cartels. His murder, out in public, made him an instant martyr, a symbol of resistance. And that's where this phrase comes from. We are all Carlos Manzo. It just took off, became this incredibly powerful rallying cry for the whole movement. It absolutely spread like wildfire across social media. You saw it on banners, and it turned a personal tragedy into this huge collective call for justice. But look, Manzo's assassination, that was just the spark. The fuel for this fire, that had been piling up for years. All this frustration just simmering right under the surface of Mexican society. Yeah, this protest did not just come out of nowhere. You have to understand what was going on. It was this potent mix of problems. People living in constant fear of cartel violence, a deep mistrust that the government could do anything about it, and crucially, a whole generation of young people feeling completely ignored and shut out from their own future. And what's so interesting is that this wasn't just a youth thing. Not at all. I mean, listen to this quote from a 65-year-old protester. It shows you that this movement brought everyone together. You had students marching right alongside their grandparents, all of them demanding fundamental change. So how does this local anger turn into a national and even international firestorm? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and it's something we see all the time now: digital mobilization. You see, what's happening with Gen Z activists in Mexico is part of a much bigger global story. These are digital natives. They grew up with this stuff. So for them, using social media, creating memes, getting hashtags to go viral, that's just how they organize. And they can do it faster and more effectively than any generation before them. And you really have to grasp the sheer speed and scale we're talking about here. That hashtag #WeAreAllCarlosManzo, appeared in over 45,000 posts in just 3 days. That's an absolute explosion of digital dissent that the authorities simply could not ignore. And if we dig into the data, you can see how it all played out across the different platforms. So yes, Twitter had the most raw posts, but when you add it all up, all the platforms together, you're looking at a tidal wave of over 750,000 digital interactions. We're talking likes, shares, comments, the whole deal. This data really paints a picture of just how diverse the digital side of this movement was. You had Twitter acting as kind of the news hub, right? But then you had TikTok with its super visual, emotional videos, and it was just generating huge engagement. That's what really amplified the message to a global audience. Okay, so after all that, after the clashes, the viral hashtags, what happened next? What was the fallout? And maybe more importantly, what does this all mean for the future of politics and policy in Mexico? Well, right away, two totally competing stories popped up. On one side, you had the government, led by President Sheinbaum, basically saying this unrest was promoted by foreign and right-wing actors. But on the other side, the protesters insisted that no, the violence was started by a small, isolated group that didn't represent the movement at all. It just goes to show you how deep the political polarization was. So, when you analyze everything that happened, some pretty clear, actionable recommendations for policymakers start to emerge. Things like, hey, we need to strengthen security and intelligence to protect local officials. Or, here's a thought, let's create actual ways for young people to voice their concerns. And even using social media data to anticipate and maybe de-escalate these situations before they boil over. And that leaves us with a huge question. And this isn't just a question for Mexico, it's for all of us. In this new world of viral outrage and instant digital activism, what does the future of being an engaged citizen even look like? As technology completely changes the rules for how we protest and demand change, how will our societies and our governments adapt? That right there is the challenge.